Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing and disgusting day it is. We have more evidence that Eric Swalwell is a predator and a criminal. Multiple accusers came out today in several different press briefings and interviews and detailed exactly what this piece of work did. So we'll go through them and see what the latest is. He is also now, my understanding is, officially out of Congress. We have what happened today in Congress. They read the resignation letter and he's bye-bye, but that is not going to get him out of scrutiny or potentially criminal indictments and charges coming down the line very soon. So we'll go through that. Then we'll talk about his best friend, Ruben Gallego, the senator from Arizona, who had a meltdown today. He came out, did about a 35-minute press conference. We'll listen to it at a little increased speed to get through it, but he was very nervous. You could see in his body language, he was doing the eye block. Like, "No, I'm so disgusted, I can't even understand that I'm saying this to you right now." And a lot of rumors circulating out there that maybe he was in that hotel room or whatever bedroom that was when Swalwell was getting into it with a hooker. So we'll see what those claims are and then see what Ruben says about those things. And then, of course, see what you say about it, because we've got this side profile where people are comparing and contrasting the image of the dude on the bed next to Ruben Gallego's head. And it looks pretty dang close. If it's not him, it looks close. So we'll go through that. And then Judge Boasberg got slapped down today. This is the illegal alien loving judge who said, turn that airplane back around. Illegals were being flown down to El Salvador in CCOT, and then he ordered them to be returned. And then he got slapped down by the Supreme Court and said, I don't really care what they said. I'm going to hold the entire Trump administration in contempt. And now the Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. said, you're an idiot, and actually slapped him down pretty nice and hard. So we'll go through that, see what the latest is, and see what you have to say about all these stories and more. It's a doozy of a day, and we're looking forward to getting into it. Although there's some pretty heinous stuff that is going to be circulating from these women out here. So you might want to put the kids to bed if they're here. But let's make sure the tubes are working and that we're coming through loud and clear. It looks like we're live all across the fruited plains of the interwebs. That's tremendous news. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Starting with Bang Bang Swalwell. Eric Swalwell in deep trouble, now getting out of Congress, but he's not out of criminal liability. We have multiple witnesses and victims of his abuse who came forward today and explained exactly what went down and how he exploited them as a congressional predator. So we got CBS here queued up. We also have another accuser who came out today in a very emotional press conference. We'll listen to a little bit of it. But before we get into it all, of course, we got some trips to go down memory lane, because Eric Swalwell has for a long time called himself a prosecutor and a purveyor of justice for women. Says he's a father, he's a husband, he has a daughter, and he would never let these things happen. Of course, we're now seeing these clips reemerge. This one came back out from just a month ago, according to X Alerts, says Swalwell was talking about how important this type of case was, which is why he invited an Epstein survivor to come to the State of the Union. Meanwhile, he's actually doing the abuse. Swalwell has since been accused of actually exploiting women, blacking them out so that they pass out on the bed, and then he just R's them. And he's a disgusting person, according to these accusers, if everything is true, and certainly seems that way. So here's what he said not long ago before we hear from the victims themselves.
Why aren't you talking about Epstein more?
I'm bringing an Epstein survivor to the State of the Union on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really important to me, and you don't have to be a father of a little girl to care about sexual assault. I am a father of a little girl,
right,
and it is really important to me. It's not just, a document or documents. It's kind of a final exam for our democracy, because these are the most powerful people in the world who exploited little girls. And if justice doesn't come, and I don't care what party you're in, if justice doesn't come for what you did, then we've failed as a democracy.
Okay,
so justice better come, right? According to Eric Swalwell's own standard. And even just watching him in these clips, I mean, his eye contact and the fact that he doesn't even look like where he's walking forward. He's just staring at this woman. There he goes, looking a little bit forward now, staring, not even watching where he's going. Weird dude. So Of course, we've got multiple victims who came out today. CBS News gave us a little bit of a brief on exactly what they got from their interviews, and here's how this exchange went.
Wow. That was as someone who...
And Eric Swalwell offering to stay in touch after meeting with her student group in Washington, D.C.
He offered to mentor me. Wow. That was as someone who knew virtually nothing about politics at the time, or no one. That was just an incredibly generous offer that I felt very lucky to have.
She says Swalwell created a group chat with all the students and then added her as a friend on the messaging app Snapchat.
And so I asked the other people that were in the meeting, did he add them? And they said no.
Were they all men?
Yes. I was the only woman in the meeting.
She says Swalwell, who was then in his late 30s, started out talking politics, but his messages soon turned flirtatious.
Ultimately, it reached a point where he invited me to a hotel to meet him. It was very clear what the connotation was. At that point, I completely stopped responding. What I keep thinking back to is how lucky I am that I didn't go to that hotel.
Alisa Marco says she had a similar experience in 2021. She sent Swalwell a supportive message on Twitter, and to her surprise, he messaged right back.
I was so excited. I was a low-level staffer who had no real political background, and he was this established figure in Democratic politics.
They began to text, but she says he soon asked if she too was on Snapchat, where messages and photos automatically get deleted after they're viewed.
How did the tenor of his conversation change?
It started out as professional and platonic, and then slowly they became more and more explicit, asking me what I was wearing. Then one night he was on a trip and he was laying in his hotel room bed, and then he sent me a photo of his penis.
Oh.
Samarco showed us text messages she sent to friends at the time about Swalwell's alleged advances. In one, she wrote, "He's snapping me right now, asking when he can see me." But beyond that, both women said little for years as they built careers as Democratic campaign strategists.
I was terrified that if I spoke out against him, then people would think that I was a loose cannon, that
You're
I
a bad
couldn't be
Democrat.
trusted, that maybe I'm making it up.
That was until Swalwell decided to run for governor of California
I'm Eric Swalwell, and it's this simple.
and quickly moved to the top of the pack.
The idea that this man who has already abused his power would be given even more power and could potentially harm even more women made my whole body sick.
So, 2 weeks ago, Albrecht reached out to her good friend Cheyenne Hunt, a Democratic content creator, and asked her to post a video about the rumors that have dogged Swalwell for years.
The Democratic candidate currently leading in the California governor's race has a known history of being predatory towards women. I could never have guessed where it would lead us.
Where did it lead?
I was immediately slammed with DMs from other women who said, I have a story to tell. And that was when I realized that this was a lot bigger than I think any of us knew.
Swalwell has acknowledged what he called mistakes of judgment, but denied all allegations
AKA
of
crimes
sexual misconduct.
coming up.
They have never happened, and I will fight them with everything that I have.
And yet on Sunday, he suspended his bid for governor, and yesterday announced his plan to resign from Congress.
Is that justice in your view?
I think we just prevented another 30 to 40 years potentially of him harming people if he were to stay in Congress.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think we have served justice for his future victims. Wow. That won't exist anymore.
We reached out to Swalwell multiple times to ask about these specific allegations, and we did not hear back.
Of course not. Now, there, of course, is more to this story because this woman came out and she said that this was more than just sending Eric Weiner pictures through the text messages on Snapchat. She was actually sexually assaulted, was given something that made her black out, and then Eric took full advantage of her. Here is her exchange. She was out today with her lawyers. It was a 20-minute press conference. We'll just listen to her portion of it. Here's what she had to say.
Had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics.
Let's boost this volume up a little bit. Pretty quiet and somber statement.
He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way. I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swalwell. That reality further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward, and I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
Criminal referral.
I think you have to switch places with Eric. I gotta go now.
So more photos of the two there together. She's got attorneys there. The whole press was there. They gave statements about what is coming next, and they'll be making a criminal referral to the police for sexual assault. And Eric Swalwell is in big, big trouble. So we've also got more. Nancy Pelosi was out today. They said, Nancy, you put Eric Swalwell on all sorts of committees like the Intelligence Committee until he made Bang Bang with Fang Fang, a Chinese spy, all apparently corroborated by our intelligence agencies. And Nancy, did you know any of this was going on?
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to or what the allegations
were. That is absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea?
None whatsoever.
No idea.
None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls, the leading candidate.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of candidates out there. And California has this quirky law, because it's ranked primaries, right, where you could end up with 2 Republicans on the ballot.
Well, it is.
How does that?
I agree that it is a quirky law. I do not agree that there'll be 2 Republicans at the top.
No, had no idea about Bang Bang Swalwell at all. Now, people are looking into the various FEC filings and comparing and contrasting them with the allegations of these women. On September 27th, writes the San Francisco Chronicle, the woman said that Swalwell invited her and a group of friends to join him and an advisor at Haps, a steakhouse in downtown Pleasanton. The woman had been drinking before the gathering, she said, and Swalwell brought her more alcohol when she arrived. She said she became so inebriated that she does not remember how she left the restaurant, only that she woke up in the next morning in Swalwell's hotel bed naked. She also has a brief recollection of him on her toes, which she said disgusted her. So the women said that she could feel the effect of the intercourse, but they did not discuss it, and Swalwell sent her back off to work, which included staffing an event that morning in which he went hiking with constituents. Swalwell was then distant afterward, the woman said, and treated her more professionally, which made her feel dirty. And so someone pulled the actual FEC filings from Rob Pyers, and this is where your campaign donations go, apparently, if you're donating to Democrats. So Swalwell for Congress, all transactions. Oh, look at these. Haps Original. And they just go out to eat, I guess, on the donor dime. Don't even have to worry about it. Look how often they go out. August 8th, they go out $234. I'm sure it's a campaign expenditure. 8/12, $19, stops by for a beer. 8/19, a few days later, $178, Haps Original. Then a month goes by. He probably has to go do some work. Then he comes back on September 9th, $324. September 30th, $306. October 3rd, $298. November 5th, $517, all from Haps Original over there in California, and maybe that was his little jumping off point. And, you know, I understand the argument out there. I see some comments in the chat. Like, so they got drunk and had sex with him. Just because a woman gets drunk doesn't mean you have a right to have sex with her. If she is not a willing party to the interaction, you don't just get to take advantage of drunk women around you unless you're a predator like Eric Swalwell Bang Bang is. So this is what's happening. Rob Pyers is corroborating this. And by the way, I'd love to see a little compare and contrast. Maybe this is a task for Data Republican. Someone beam the spotlight into the clouds like Batman. And somebody compare and contrast his expenditures with others who are also spending money at this location. Was Arizona's Ruby Gallego also going to Haps Original, also issuing tabs on his campaign expenditure account during these same dates, times, and locations? Maybe you can cross-reference other people who are there who also are using their campaign dollars in order to pay for these funds. Now, here's more about this guy. So he was also, in addition to going to Haps, going on mega cruises. The New York Post is reporting this in an exclusive, saying a newly surfaced video shows a bleary-eyed Eric Swalwell in a robe during a blowout trip on a yacht off a area called St. Tropez with a bevy of young women. The mysterious clip appeared on social media over the weekend as Swalwell was hit with multiple allegations that then forced him to drop out of the governor's race and resign from Congress. There he is on a yacht trip. I've got the video coming up, and he looks like he's lit. You see, we've learned the context there of the stunning footage. We'll watch some of it. Sources tell us that in early September 2022, two of Swalwell's pals jetted by private plane from Las Vegas, to the French Riviera, where they chartered a 200-foot Ariance yacht and called Swalwell to come join them. We're told the now former congressman arrived by commercial jet, joined them by tender on the stunning luxury craft. So the video's coming up. We're told that there were 4 or 5 men on the boat, including Bang Bang and a group of beautiful young women. One of the men is believed to be an entrepreneur called Nick Ritchie. According to our source, one of the women, writes the Post, a Brit believed to be in her late teens, appeared to be romantically involved with one of the men in the group. But the 5 or 6 other women, a mix of Brits and Americans, were a little older, apparently in their 20s, seemed otherwise unacquainted both with each other and with the group. There's the yacht. The people on the boat were told to keep it hush-hush about Swalwell being on the trip, but he shows up in the video, said a source familiar with the weekend-long excursion. They were told everything stays on the boat. Yeah. The former Bay Area representative has been in Congress 9 years, said it didn't seem like a politician, someone said, more like president of a frat house. Yeah. We're told some of the women seemed to be shipped back to shore, never to return, while others arrived to replace them, basically trafficking in women. Great. So we're told the trip had a bacchanalian feel. The hell kind of word is that, man? With booze flowing freely, and that the group filled their days with jet skiing and lounging on the deck. This is what Congress people are up to. The source said that they weren't specifically aware of Swalwell being romantically or otherwise involved with any of the women. And the video is right here. We're going to turn the volume down because there's some music in there. We'll get banned on this, or get a strike on it. But there's Swalwell on the boat. Bunch of women just dancing around. And we fast forward a little bit from, okay, dancing, whatever. There's the boat. Then there's this weird dude who starts crawling down the ship of the yacht. Then it turns over. He comes running back. Oh, my God, I'm on a boat with Swalwell. Then Swalwell comes out and looks at the music in his robe and says, no, don't do it. Points at somebody. And then there's more breasts there for you. So that's what Bang Bang is doing, okay? When he's not in Congress making stuff up about E. Jean Carroll or about Epstein or how outraged he is by these things, he's out on boats with women. He's married. He's got kids, by the way. And I'm wondering, did Ruben Gallego know anything about this? Did say, hey, friend, you're married. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that to your wife. Does he have any values or morals at all? Or is he just like, well, it's Swalwell, just kind of hanging out. And this guy posted this apparently over on Instagram. Now, re-emerging. And so Swalwell, even if nothing illegal happened on this, you can see kind of the pattern fits. The guy has a problem with sex and is a predator of women using his position of power. Just don't you know who I am? I'm a congressman in the United States government. Ugh. So it's nonstop. And here's another clip of him once again putting on his glasses, putting on a suit and tie, saying that I really care about the Epstein files.
216. I was the 216th person to sign the Epstein petition to release all of the files and finally bring justice for these victims. So we're just 2 away. 2 more members sign it, and we are on our road to justice. I was proud to do it as a former prosecutor. Somebody who has spent my time in Congress working to stand up for the rights of victims.
Former prosecutors, you know how much we make fun of them because that's such a stupid misnomer for many of them. They're actual, not all of them, but many of them really don't give a crap about justice at all. They're just, to get the title and do the job. Not all of them. There are a lot of good prosecutors out there, but he, of course, is not one of them. So here's another little scandalous endeavor here. So we're asking about are Congress people being compromised and Swalwell being installed into this position and thinking that he can get away with all of this activity because of the fact that no one's going to do anything about it and that he can continue on with his escapades, some legal, some illegal, regardless of the fact that he's married and, purports to be a loving husband and a great father and sells that to all the dumb constituents who voted for him out in California. And then he comes into Congress and he does this fake little routine where he goes, hey, James Comey, another criminal who should be in jail. Swalwell back in March 2017, our friend Maze Moore over on X dug this one up for us. He says, flashback to one of the most pitiful and ridiculous moments in American political history. Back in 2017, there was a sham hearing during the Russia collusion hoax, which was all made up by our intelligence agencies, including James Comey, who was in the room with Barack Obama. Eric Swalwell, the man who slept with a Chinese spy who made bang bang with Fang Fang, she had to leave the country. She's in Chinese intelligence rehab centers right now. They're trying to MK Ultra his wiener out of her brain. Wants to know if the Kremlin uses romance to influence people. If the Kremlin uses romance to influence people. This is this guy.
I want to talk about the Kremlin playbook. And there are a number of ways that a foreign adversary could seek to influence a person. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Financial?
Yes, that can be one.
Romance, you said, is another?
Yes.
Yeah.
Compromise?
Correct.
Setting up a compromise?
Sure, to execute on a compromise, yes.
How about inadvertently capturing a compromise? Meaning they have vast surveillance and you stumble into that surveillance.
He's like, can you tell me more? Like, how do they do it? Do they have secret cameras in hotel rooms? Okay. I'm just curious. What do they look like? I'm wondering. Can you see them? Is there any way, James Comey, that you can detect them? Like if I bought something off Amazon, could I like sweep my room? I mean, our room. Can somebody sweep our room? Not my, he just is obviously asking questions about his same activities that he's engaging in. The whole thing is wild.
Are caught in a compromise.
And then they take that information, try and use it to coerce you. Yeah, that's part of the playbook.
I want to talk.
That's part of the playbook. He comes out and screams about it, about Trump and the Kremlin and the Russia collusion hoax. He was sleeping with a Chinese spy. He was staying in a billionaire's house where apparently, I'm sure a lot of these activities were going on. He had multiple people in a hotel room or wherever that disgusting room was who were filming him with hookers on the bed and other men in the room apparently there to watch. So, of course, as always, when they're attacking the president, they are really revealing themselves for who they are. And he's now asking James Comey, another criminal, how do they actually do these things? So that maybe I can avoid them doing it to me. Now, Catherine Herridge was out. She said, Swalwell did say that allegations of misconduct and leaking sensitive information and more are already known to be a part of his dossier. So it might even go deeper than just him being a sexual predator, than him being a charlatan and a hack and a liar in Congress. That's all horrific as it is. But what if he was actually compromised? And what if all of this is much deeper than it looks to be on the surface? According to a 2017 report, writes Catherine Herridge, redacted, somebody in this document, noted that Swalwell has been the source of a lot of leaked information. And had to be counseled to be more careful. You see, this report was dropped. A House Permanent Select Committee attorney, redacted, requested the unmasking of the identities of U.S. persons in the documents. One redacted document contained very specific reporting and only 3 people from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence on which Eric Swalwell served, possibly 2 staff, this person, and 1 House member called Eric Swalwell from California actually read it. So 3 people knew about it. The document was read right before the 4th of July recess, sometime late July to early July. Within 24 hours of the committee reviewing the document, the information contained in the document, boom, appeared in the press. Subsequently, redacted, someone's lawyer, went to the select committee and read them the riot act about the disclosure. You're not allowed to do this. Someone else noted that Swalwell has been the source of a lot of leaked information and had to be counseled to be more careful. Then approximately 6 weeks ago, the Russian team, plus some other House Select Committee on Intelligence attorneys and other minority staff members, held a meeting. Someone was told that he did not need to attend. Someone opined that she, redacted, and someone else were being pushed out because they were not providing the leadership with what it wanted, i.e. dirt. And of course, that I believe is when Adam Schiff, another criminal, was also the chairman of that entire committee. They were additionally redacted, opined. He was seen as a threat because he would not put up with the leaking and has addressed the issue to staff and other security on many occasions. Now, over the past week or two, redacted, Schiff's communications director, not a member of the Russian team, was also briefed on whatever the Russian team was learning. All of it was made up. The Russian team was an engineered operation. We know that Michael Atkinson and the CIA whistleblower Eric Ciamarella made up a lot of the allegations about Trump colluding with the Russians and the Ukrainians to go after Biden, or colluding with the Russians to beat Hillary Clinton. One intelligence operation after another. And this entire time, Bang Bang is going around acting like Eric Swalwell. So now we know Kash Patel said, we can do something about this. He said Swalwell has maintained that none of the allegations against him are true. Wow. And now that he's resigned, we would welcome him to sit down with the FBI and share any information he has about all of this. We also encourage and welcome any person with relevant information to any of these matters to speak with us. The door is open to all. 1-800, call the FBI and report Bang Bang Swalwell if you have any information on it. Kash Patel, thank you for that. And it is a nice offer that the FBI is willing to help and assist in any way possible. Now, here's more from LA. We now saw that the billionaire who was housing him in his Beverly Hills home has thrown Eric Swalwell out, and they went out there to LA and talked to this guy. And here's what that sounded like.
We just wrapped up a one-on-one interview with Stephen Klubeck. At one point, he was running for governor of California, but he dropped out to endorse Eric Swalwell, a decision he clearly regrets.
Yeah, oops.
Do you suspect this at all?
No, I was blown away.
A political explosion.
Like blown away.
Billionaire Stephen Klubeck, once a major donor and supporter of Eric Swalwell, now publicly turning on him with rage.
Mad.
Amid sexual assault allegations.
I am no longer a Democrat.
Oh.
I'm now a libertarian Republican.
Oh, really?
Because that's what a blue dog Democrat used to be.
A lot has been said about me today through anonymous allegations.
Swalwell posting this video Friday from Klubeck's Beverly Hills mansion, pushing back.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false.
But since then, the fallout has only intensified. The Democratic frontrunner for California governor dropping out of the race, resigning from Congress, and being kicked out of Klubeck's home.
And I said, pal, you busted the trust. I'm disappointed and disgusted. Get the out of here.
Now, a political scramble with 2 Republicans and 7 Democrats all fighting for the top 2 spots in June's primary.
I am horrified by what's been alleged.
There are still survivors who are waiting for some justice.
Rushing to pick up Swalwell's supporters. How does this impact the race for governor in California?
It creates a void that Democrats haven't been able to figure out in the last 6 months, and they're going to have to figure out probably in the next 6 days.
A former senior communications advisor for Swalwell tells Fox 11 they're horrified over the allegations, adding, "We were lied to by someone we trusted to lead the state."
You don't sleep with those you work with. You don't do it.
You don't.
Outrage echoing across California as ballots for the primary hit mailboxes next month. How's your relationship with Eric? Are you guys still friends?
Eric who? Is that clear? Don't bust the trust.
Yeah.
You bust the trust, okay? You don't exist in my life.
Ooh. Swalwell put out a statement Monday denying the allegations and apologizing. Reporting in Beverly Hills, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, he got thrown out of the circle of trust. You are in the circle of trust, and then you bust the trust, and then you are removed from the circle, never to return again. So that guy's pretty hilarious. And I don't know what was going on in those mansions, in his mansion where he let Swalwell come in, but you got to imagine things were pretty outrageous there. If his personality has anything to do with what the activities were inside that place, I'm sure it was wild. So he threw Swalwell out, and, perfect company, it sounds like, both a couple of maybe sociopaths. But now Swalwell is homeless at least in billionaire residences, and he's got a lot bigger problems coming down the pike, including, according to this woman, a criminal referral for the R word. And it's not going to be good. If she is not alone, it sounds like she's not. There are other women who are making similar allegations. What you see in criminal cases, prosecutors have a difficult time, not always, but when it's a he said, she said case, it's one versus the other. One woman says one guy did something. There's no corroborating witnesses, unless it's Trump. Then you can have E. Jean Carroll, who said that she got Bergdorfed in a dressing room at Bergdorf's 30 years ago. No witnesses, no evidence, no police reports, nothing. And then goes home, paints her trees, has Democrat Reid Hoffman fund the entire lawsuit. They go to New York where they change the laws, create the Adult Survivor Act, and then extend the statute of limitations. They basically engineer the whole thing. Not enough for criminal charges, so they bring it in a civil claim, and then they present it to a New York jury who says that E. Jean Carroll is wrong. They found that she was not actually Ard. She just got DJ diddled. Remember that, according to her. No evidence at all, but that was enough for the entire media to rub everyone's noses in that for the last however many years, 6+ years. All of it a total scam, and that's good enough for that standard. But in a criminal case, what we see, and that was all made up, she's a lunatic in my opinion. But here, of course, you've got multiple women now that are coming out of the woodwork. And if you've got one defendant man accuser and multiple women with the same pattern in practice, the same MO, all coming out and saying, yep, I lost consciousness and I woke up and he had Ard me. I lost I had a glass of wine. The other woman said, I just showed up into his, his hotel room to bring him some paperwork. Next thing she knows, she wakes up the next morning, she'd been Ard. Same pattern in practice. You start to corroborate those. You stack those up, you bring the case, and it's much harder for the defendant to defend against those things. So hopefully we see this energy continue and the truth to come out. Swalwell, like everybody, deserves the presumption of innocence, but that presumption of innocence can easily be overcome when the evidence is overwhelming as it is here. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. All right, now, we're not done yet because Swalwell's best friend, Ruben Gallego, a senator from Arizona, is having a meltdown, absolutely freaking out about this photo and other allegations that Gallego knew a lot more about Swalwell that he was not letting on to. In other words, he should have revealed this to save some of Swalwell's interns and staffers and other women victims who were in his orbit from ultimately being victimized, or maybe even nudged him and said, hey, this is your wife. You're a married man. Act like it. Stop acting like a pervert. Stop acting flirtatious. But of course, that did not happen. Now Gallego, who wants to be president for some reason, is now reversing course, abandoning ship, and trying to save his own skin. And he was out today with a major press conference that we'll take a look at, trying to talk his way out of this so that people will leave him alone. And you can see even here from the body language, the guy is very standoffish. You're going to see his eyes, like every time he says, did you know? Nope, I didn't know anything. Trying to block himself from the truth because you can read it in a person's eyes. Now, here was more from outside the Capitol yesterday, shared courtesy of Lauren Fox. She says in a brief interview outside the Capitol, Gallego from Arizona, Ruben, of course, has been named as Swalwell's best friend, said that Swalwell led a double life. He never suspected that he was pursuing staff as he had been alleged. And of course, that's a violation of House rules anyways. So if it's not criminal, you're not supposed to be sleeping with your staff. Of course, we do think it's criminal. But here's what Ruben said, and this was not good enough. This is what prompted him to come out today and just try everything he could, desperately flailing around to save his butt.
Epstein and saying that a lot of people spent time with this man because it seems impossible that they didn't have some sense of what was going on. I think there are a lot of people like Congressman Swalwell and saying a lot of you spent a lot of time with him and how did you have a sense that something was going on?
I mean, again, the man led a double life, and for many, more than 20 congressmen, people have served with him for a long time.
Pause. More than 20 congressmen. What?
I mean, again, the man led a double life, and for many, more than 20 congressmen, people have served with him for a long time. We had no clue. We had no clue. And look, unlike whatever's happening with Jeffrey Epstein, because as soon as we knew, we all asked for accountability, and we'll continue to ask for accountability. And the victims deserve justice. But he literally led a double life and tricked many of us into thinking he was something he was not.
He tricked us, and they just couldn't figure it out. And what's interesting here is here are some of the exchanges that these two BFFs were talking about on X. Everybody else is working their butts off just to try to survive inflation and to remedy from the illegal alien invasion that Joe Biden caused and lots of other real difficult things that life brings our way. Here's what these two dorks were talking about on X. So Ruben Gallego posted this one back in 2021. So happy that he won. He's now in Congress. Amazing. He said, this is happening. How to saber your champagne bottle. All right. So they're drinking champagne together. And apparently this is some technique where you take a knife or something and lop the top of the champagne bottle off. I think I have a video of this queued up as well. So also, start with a well-chilled bottle, whatever. He says, yeah, I'm going to be good at popping champagne. So then Bang Bang says, you're going to lose a thumb. This is like they're joking. They're like bros. Totally fine. At most, it will be a bruise, says these two guys. And so then they're doing these other weird videos. And I just saw this as I was sitting down. So let me grab this. But then Ruben was sharing this from Ruben's wife. And so then Ruben comes out and he's doing this little champagne bottle thing. And his wife's like, oh, using the Lord's name in vain. Here you go. Listen to this.
Do it with force.
Got my fancy shoes?
I do.
With force, right?
Yeah.
45-degree angles. So when I hit it, it has to be 45 also, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Watch it.
Yes. Hard.
Watch it. All right. So that's what they're up to. So that's what him and Swalwell are talking about over on the interwebs. And there's more on this. And let's get into the press conference because, yeah, here is how he responds to all of this. BFFs with Ruby, going around riding camels on a beach somewhere, taking extravagant vacations and living lavish off their campaign donos and all the things. So he comes out, watch the body language on this. I think this is as big of a tell as anything. And he answers questions and he really places himself as the victim, ultimately. I got tricked. I got duped. I had no idea.
Being here. I call this today because there's just a lot of rumors going around about me.
Like what?
About my family. And, unfortunately, this is not the first time. I did deal with the same BS in 2024 and 2023.
Okay.
When they ran millions and millions of dollars of smears against me, lied about my family, and sustained damn people again. Carrie Lake, Chris LaSavita, a bunch of political operatives. What they couldn't do in 2024, try to do again in 2026.
Okay, so it's a campaign
I want to
thing.
make a couple of things very clear. Number one, Eric Swalwell lied to all of us. He lied to the most powerful people in this country. And they trusted him. They trusted him with some of the most sensitive spots in our government, whether it was on the Judiciary Committee, Intel Committee, impeaching Donald Trump. And that clouded my judgment. My friendship with him, our family's friendship together with him, clouded my judgment. And I was wrong. I deeply, deeply regret that. The women that came forward are courageous and they still deserve justice. But to be clear again, I also had no knowledge of predatory behavior, sexual assault, or harassment.
Eyes.
And unfortunately right now, the same people that are attacking me in 2024 are using this horrible situation that's been thrown upon these women, thrown upon Eric Swalwell's family, and using this as an excuse to politically attack me, lie about me, and lie about my family. And I will not take that lightly. So with that, I'll gladly take any questions.
Media unleashes on him.
I'm not going to let the same thing repeat.
Congressman,
We're not going to rush out, so don't worry.
Congressman, thank you so much. Swalwell had called you his best friend.
Yep.
You have never asked him about any of the rumors that have been swirling around Democratic politics of his inappropriate behavior?
I did.
When?
Look.
What?
We knew each other differently from everyone else. My family and his family were as close as it gets. Our kids were in baseball camp together. We had dinner together as a family. It was entirely different, I think, what people understand. But when there was rumors going around a couple of weeks ago, not of the full extent whatever in San Francisco Chronicle, I did ask him, and he lied to me. He knew that I just came off a very, very hard campaign.
Yeah, it's so hard.
For 2 years.
So hard.
Where he lied about me and my family for 2 years. He manipulated me to have the same sentiment that I was having back in the day and used as an opportunity to move me to defend him.
A couple of days ago.
He can't even, if you're watching his eyes, I hope it's coming across on the screen. He can't even get it out. He can't even lie through his teeth because he knows he's in big trouble.
Did you not know about the allegations? So considering you chaired his presidential campaign,
right?
Wouldn't some of this have come up? Some of those allegations predated when he ran for office.
Again, this man led a double life. He lied to us. He lied to his family, lied to his constituents. Some of the most powerful people in this country, you know, even before he ran, he was trusted with some positions that normally we would never think someone like this could do if they're leading that double life. And again, I was manipulated. I was lied to. And everyone else was too.
Okay, so he is not responsible because everyone else got lied to too. So he's innocent by proxy. Okay, if he duped Nancy Pelosi, he duped Chuck Schumer, he duped all these very powerful people in America, then what is poor Ruby supposed to do? He was just following their lead. He has no knowledge of this. The guy chaired his presidential campaign. He does the staffing. There were 50 people that we read through yesterday who all signed a letter against Eric Swalwell, who explained explicitly they're resigning. There's, they wouldn't be abandoning ship. The guy resigned from Congress if there was no there. So everyone knew it. We've heard many clips from Kevin McCarthy and other people that you'll even hear from him. So put a pin in this. I'll try to stop interrupting it because he goes on a while. But he comes back and then says, I had no idea. I'm duped. I got lied to. He fooled everybody. But then, yeah, maybe he was flirtatious. I did see some flirtatious activity. And then it's like, why didn't you call out that flirtatious activity when you could see him flirting with a woman at a restaurant or flirting with a campaign staffer? You don't tell him and pull him aside and say, hey, stop that, bro. We're best friends. Think about you and your best friend. You watch your bro out there who's a married man who's now hitting on women randomly and other campaign staff and other voters, or perhaps you pull him aside. You say, enough of that. You're a congressman. This is going to come back to destroy you. And so he does admit that later on. So even in this press briefing, he's completely inconsistent. We continue.
You release any text messages you had to prove your innocence?
Anybody that asks, or any legal proceedings that need,
that's on their end, by the way.
They want.
You'll release all your documents.
Yeah, any legal proceedings, the ethics interviews, or if there's a subpoena,
release
or
them.
Anything else, legal proceedings, anything else. If you get sued, we'll release everything without.
I just want to
release them now.
understand when you called him in light of these allegations coming forward, and then when they did grow more serious into sexual assault.
Yes.
Did you call him again and ask your friend, "Did you lie to me"?
No, I called him the day, a few minutes after I read that article, and I told him drop out.
Which article?
The San Francisco Chronicle article. Drop out.
And you didn't speak to him then when CNN put out reporting that was much more serious?
Was that, I don't remember the timeline, but as soon as I read about the San Francisco Chronicle article, like a minute afterwards, after I got off stage, I called him and said it's time to drop out.
And what did he say? What did he say?
Is this true? Is this not true?
I told him to drop out. He denied everything. I told him you have to drop out. We'll start taking back too.
Senator, there was a video online that surfaced of Eric Swalwell making out with a woman sitting next to someone.
Okay.
Was that you sitting next to him?
This is exact lies. No, I was not sitting next to him. I was not in the room. I was nowhere. I don't even know where it happened. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Chris LaCivita and a bunch of other right-wing political operatives are pushing this narrative that somehow I was in that room with Eric Swalwell, and that is an absolute lie.
Congressman, you
So we've got that photo queued up. So the video's like soft core pornography. And so I've got it redacted here so that we don't see anything. And you can see your boy did some really special video editing and put the vomit little emoji right there. She's clothed in the video, but we just don't even want to get close to it. So people are sharing that video around, and you'll notice that there's this dude who's up here in the room. So this is a hooker, I believe, who Eric Swalwell kisses on the mouth. And then he rolls her over, starts fondling her and grabbing her breast. She's got a drink in her hand. And people are noticing, first of all, there's at least this guy in the room. They say, who the hell is that dude right there? Huh, that's pretty interesting. And no one knows who it is. Now, there's also somebody who's actually recording the video. Okay, so there's 3 people in the room, 4 total. Swalwell, some other dude, maybe someone else who's on the side of the dude, closer on the other end of the bed. Then you have somebody who's actually recording this. So Swalwell, of course, is asking James Comey about compromise and saying, oh, couldn't the Russians use a hooker or something to compromise me? Meanwhile, and you can watch the video, it's really disgusting. He just grabs her and starts making out with her. You're like, oh my gosh, bro, you're married, you sick freak. So that's the photo. And people are saying, is that Ruben Gallego? And I don't know, but people are doing compare and contrasts on this thing. And this account over on X, C_3, put both of these screenshots in. And this is a screenshot from another photo of Ruben Gallego. And you got another close one of this dude who's actually in the photo. And it asked Grok to match him up. Is this the same guy? Do these ears and sideburns match? And I don't know if it's Ruben, but it's pretty damn close, okay? If it's not him, you can just see it. It's pretty damn close. And so Grok came out and said, yeah, it is. The ears and the sideburns match. It's the same person in both images. Here's why they line up. Ear shape and position. The ear is identical in both photos, says Grok. Same size, same prominent anti-helix fold, same earlobe shape, same exact angle tilt relative to the head. Sideburn density, length, and how they blend into the beard and the hair at the temple are also consistent. The hair texture and color gradient, darker on top, lighter on the neck, also match. Damn, Grok. Forensic Grok. Neck and skin tone, the skin texture, neck hair stubble, and overall coloring are the same. Angle and lighting. Both are taken from a similar side rear profile angle under the comparable indoor lighting. So the first image is sharper and closer, while the second image is blurrier and slightly more from behind, but all the visible anatomical features align perfectly. No discrepancies in proportions or details that would suggest different people. It's the same guy. So that's AI, and you can take it for what it's worth, but that's what's being shared out there on the interwebs. And people are also noticing the shoe, right? The black Nike shoe. Now, there are, I believe, some AI photos of Ruben who's sitting at a bench, and he's got, I don't want to share those because I don't think they're real, but he's sitting on a bench and it looks like somebody kind of photoshopped the same brand of shoe in there. And I tried to look at photos of his shoes. Weird to say that. I was looking up Ruben Gallego's feet today, but it's true. And I came across an image on Facebook that came over from this guy. Okay, so there's this Facebook account. This guy posted this back November 19, 2022, said that Arizona Foundation and Travis L. Williams American Legion Post 65 wants to thank U.S. Arizona District Number 7 Congressman Ruben Gallego to come over and join him in the 17th annual Drive Walk-in Turkey giveaway. And if you look here, there's not a lot of photos of Ruben's feet out there. These are Nikes. They are not the same shoe at all, but they are Nikes. That's for sure. So he might be a Nike fan. And there's Ruben from the photo. And he's got some Nikes on there. Again, not the same shoe at all, but you can see he does like the Nikes. And so this is another pair of Nikes. That's also, maybe somebody's head who looks like Ruben's head. People are also noticing kind of the limitation on the hair. Like some people have kind of thinning hair spots, right? Where it's like doesn't grow in as thick. And so you can see here it looks like a lighter spot, kind of right above the ear. My mouse is not showing up on the screen, but right above the ear to the right, there's a little bit of a spot kind of right here, right in the center of the screen right there. And that might also be showing up essentially over here, kind of some thinning of the hair in the same spots. Ears don't look, different for sure. And I want to point this out too, because this is another curious little feature here. So if you zoom in on this guy's head right here, notice this eyebrow protrusion. See that little bump right there? See how that little thing just pops out in the eyebrow? So it like comes out, pops out like this. See what I'm talking about? And when you compare and contrast that to this side angle, so this is the image and you can see right at his eyebrow, it's got this protrusion. Here is Ruben talking to Mike Johnson, who also has, you can see from this profile view, that eyebrow protrusion. Okay, watch this here. He's talking to Mike Johnson. This is in video.
Nobody's covering up for pedophiles.
You know, she knows, you know, that she is absurd.
Okay, I'm going to get back to work. These gentlemen had a publicity stunt here. You see the issue. They need to go and vote to reopen the government.
Get your
plain and
back.
simple. The House has done its work. Every single Republican in the House but one voted to keep the government open, to make sure TSA agents, Border Patrol agents,
and even if they do anything, they're not here next week, even if we strike a deal.
And the Democrats have voted repeatedly to keep the government closed, plain and simple. That is the issue. First things first, open the government. We'll get back to work.
All right, so pretty interesting little side-by-side there. And let me see if I can turn my cursor back on so I can just actually show it. So right there, so you can see when I have the cursor out and like see that protrusion. So right here, this guy's eyebrow and forehead kind of come out and jut out like that. And then on Ruben's side profile, you can see that right there, right? It's also kind of protruding like that. Now the hair looks a little bit different, right? It looks like longer in this shot, but I mean, the sideburns are there. And it's a very interesting thing that's happening. Earlobes right there. You can kind of compare the two. So again, it looks pretty dang close. Can't confirm or deny, but it's close. So little too close for comfort. And Grok says, well, it's the same dude. They even gave us a thumbs up emoji down there. It's the same guy. So he got asked about that. And here's how he answered that once more.
Online that surfaced of Eric Swalwell making out with a woman sitting next to someone. Was that you sitting next to him?
This is exact lies. No, I was not sitting next to him. I was not in the room. I was nowhere. I don't even know where it happened. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Chris LaCivita and a bunch of other right-wing political operatives are pushing this narrative that somehow I was in that room with Eric Swalwell, and that is an absolute lie.
Congressman, you have future political ambitions. How can people trust you to run for higher office if you didn't know that your best friend was engaging in inappropriate behavior?
Look, I messed up. I'm human. I trusted this man. I trusted him to watch my children. I would watch his children. He knew that I had just gone through the most bruising campaign.
Oh, it's so hard
with the cartel.
Yeah,
where my kids were subjected to TV commercials about what an awful human being I was.
Well,
and he knew how to prey.
You gave them to a predator.
And
it sounds
like
a
loyal friend to someone that just was not loyal to me.
And so, have you spoken to the congressman since he announced his resignation?
Since I told him
have
no.
you conveyed your feelings towards him?
Since I told him to drop out, I have not spoken to him, and I'm not.
And then just to be clear in your statement, because yesterday in your statement you said that the women who have come forward deserve to be believed. Do you believe them, or do you believe Eric Swalwell when he says these allegations are false?
Oh, I believe the women 100%, and they deserve justice.
What is it that you believe about the women? Because you said you never saw these allegations.
No, I had no knowledge.
You have no knowledge of it.
Yeah.
No knowledge.
What about any sort of position that he may have put himself in? Any compromising position? Was he drinking excessively? Was he around younger women?
Yeah.
Did you see any of that?
I didn't see that, but look, we all heard rumors.
You did
in Washington D.C. about Eric Swalwell.
Oh,
for many years.
Really?
And my family again was with him all the time, with his wife, with his kids, and we saw a different side of Eric that I'd never saw. And when I asked him about some of these rumors that were starting on the internet,
what?
A few weeks back, he also denied it and said the same thing, like the same thing they tried to do to you is in 2024 is what they're trying to do.
Congressman, you just said you
Okay. So are the rumors about Gallego also true then?
One second. Do you understand why people...
I know, I'll take somebody there.
Do you understand why people might be incredulous about that, given the fact that you guys were roommates for a time?
We were never roommates. That's a lie.
You chaired his presidential. You were close to him. You were best friends.
Yeah.
Do you understand why people just might have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why we're having this press conference right now.
Yeah, so you can try to get out of it.
I know, outside. I'll take something, and then we'll take clarification.
Senator, are you worried? Are you having to explain to donors and to candidates that you have endorsed the stuff that you're explaining to us now, and are you worried that you could be a political liability for people who in 2026?
Look, at this point, all I care about is number one, stopping the lies that are happening about me and about my family. Everyone else can make their political calculations. Fact is, this has been awful. It's been an awful situation for the victims. It's been an awful situation, again, for Eric's family. It's been an awful situation.
And for me.
For my family. We've been betrayed. We were lied to. Lied to repeatedly and manipulated for many years.
Congressman, can I give you an opportunity to clarify, because you just said two different things?
You said you were hearing these rumors for years. Did you push for any investigations, or were you only taking Eric Swalwell's word?
Good question.
Look, again, we had a familial relationship. Our families were friends together. I, again, had heard rumors. There's rumors about people all the time here. And when you see people in power, in senior to you, that are putting them in these very sensitive positions, Intel Committee, Judiciary Committee, they trusted them to go after the President Trump. They exposed them, to all this scrutiny. And eventually, especially when you have, again, your kids hanging out with his kids, you have, your families are friends, you just don't believe it.
But what were the rumors? What were the rumors that you heard? What were the rumors?
It was flirty. That was flirty.
And that was when? About what year was it?
I mean, that was through, we've heard that throughout.
But Senator, you just said, thank you so much. I want to clarify because in the beginning,
I know we'll go back there.
In the beginning, you said when you first heard these rumors a few weeks ago, that's when you called him. Then you said you've heard these rumors for years. So which one is it, Senator?
So I heard rumors of him being flirty.
And that wasn't an issue enough for you to not trust him to watch your kids or be close with him?
Because, you hear this, and then when you're close to somebody and you know his wife, you see this, you see that relationship, you know that it maybe just isn't true.
Have you asked him about it prior to the few weeks?
I asked him about it a few weeks ago when it started coming up online.
Why wouldn't you ask him about it if you're running his campaign, sir?
That she had no idea about some of these rumors circulating about him?
Yes, look, Speaker Pelosi has known Eric even longer than me. And again, she would never, ever put someone like Eric.
And real quick, if you can't hear it, it's only coming out of the left side. It's only on the left. So if you have like a left earbud in, you're not hearing it. It's not coming out of the right side based on this recording.
In a sensitive position like Intel Committee, which she prides herself being a former member of the Intel Committee, she would never put him on the impeachment trial and potentially get the impeachment trial of Donald Trump in trouble. She would never do that. She, like many of us, were lied to, were manipulated, and we're all dealing with the fallout of that. I know. I'm sorry. Yes.
Do you think does this make you more likely to be vet candidates that you endorse more seriously in the future?
I gotta vet friends closer now. This is again
shocking.
I let this man into my family. I trusted this man, and through some of the hardest things I ever had to deal with, I trusted him with my family. And is
he gonna cry?
The fact that he hurt a lot of people, and it pisses me off that now we all have to deal with all of his BS, his family, the poor victims that are still going to have to seek justice, and of course, this is a horrible situation.
Do you have a message for these victims of his?
Yeah, I'm sorry. To begin with, I'm sorry that we didn't listen closer, and I want to make sure you get justice. I know he resigned. I know he obviously quit the race, but that doesn't bring closer to them. And I want to bring them justice, and we'll be here to be helpful.
Sir, should you have acted when you first heard these rumors? Should you have acted when you first heard these rumors several years ago?
The rumors I heard were that he was just a flirty social guy. That's it. And
didn't follow up
when he was married and when we were together as families working together. I fell on the fallback that this is not the man that I'm hearing about. This is not the when you're out with a man, when he is taking his kids to baseball games, when you see them together, you start creating in your head that's not the person you're hearing. And again, I was lied to.
Yes,
and
poor Ruby.
It clouded my judgment. Our friendship clouded our judgment.
Poor
every
Ruby.
time we went out to dinner, every time our families were together, we would literally pick our kids up from schools, from practice together. This is not something that just happens overnight.
Did you ever ask him about being flirty?
For people who are outside of Washington, seeing the online discourse, hearing the coverage that says, well, people heard rumors, even what you're saying, people heard rumors, but we didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know. I mean, what do you tell them as someone who's been a member of Congress for so long? We know that there are other people that are spoken about this way. What role do you take as someone who's heard rumors now? Do you think differently about former colleagues that you've heard this about? I mean,
look, I think there's, we have to be honest with ourselves. I think a lot of people in D.C. treat these kinds of rumors as just part of the course of playing, here or something like that.
No.
And and no one, ever thought that the accusations were of the nature that came out of the San Francisco Chronicle article, or even of harassment. But the other rumors were just as serious, and we should have figured out how to approach that. But the other stuff we just didn't know. And
Did you ever ask him?
Congress rewrote the Congressional Accountability Act in 2018 in response to the Me Too movement. How is this man able to get away with this for so long and get so far in Democratic politics, even
good question,
in the midst of the Me Too movement?
Well, it means that we have to go back and make that better, because clearly there's holes in this. Or number two,
you were part of that.
We haven't created an environment through the legislation to make women, especially staffers, feel like they could come and talk to somebody and not have any repercussions. How did we get this far? It's because
of you.
Every time there was an opportunity, I think for him to be exposed, it wasn't, and it just kind of kept on
that's
going.
you.
So 2018 happens, and then he's also on then quickly after that on the impeachment committee. He's on the district committee. He's on the intel committee, right? You have friends that have known him forever. You have, we had 20 members of Congress that supported him for governor. At some point, because there was no break, and because there was all these ways that kept on saying, well, if he did something, why would he be on this committee? Why would someone have brought it up? And I think that's what fed into it. But the legislation that happened after Me Too definitely has to go and be enforced, because clearly it didn't work.
But
we're going to keep working our way back.
Sir, if you're saying that yourself and others didn't believe these rumors, then why was Swalwell's downfall so swift? Why did you call him a minute after? It would seem like you maybe suspected that there might be some truth to this.
As soon as I read the article, and that, number one, first of all, that she was a staffer, that was done, right? So even before, everything else, but the fact that she was working for him, that right there is a reason you need to drop out before even anything else, because that was inappropriate. It was in
violation of rules.
He had power over her. He had power over her career and her decision making. So even if I didn't believe everything else, that was true. We knew it was true, and that's why I told him you have to get out.
Senator,
and then you go further, and you see medical records and multiple people. So that was pretty cut and dry to me.
Senator, you mentioned needing more changes in the wake of that 2018 change. I'm wondering what steps you have taken or will be taking in your own office to make sure that staff feels more comfortable coming to each other. Because we know part of the problem here is that there are 530 some offices, people all talk, and everyone is worried that if they bring an allegation like this to the forefront, they're not going to be able to get their next job.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about, first of all, we're going to try to get our staff together, kind of figure out what that is. But I do think there needs to be some level of independent, whether it's here in the Senate or in the House. There needs to be some other independent.
Yeah, so somebody else needs to be responsible for it because he doesn't want to do it. All right, so he goes on, and credit to him for taking questions for about 35 minutes. Let's fast forward to the end here, and he kind of repeats himself a bunch. I listened to some of it earlier. Here is the tail end of his presser.
I just don't know anymore. Again, this is a person that I knew was totally different from what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
I think for many of us in Washington, D.C., we never would have imagined something like this.
No idea. Never.
How far back or anything of this nature, or especially the seriousness of it. So I can't actually tell you anymore, because the person I knew is not this person. The person that I knew is totally different, and clearly this man has been leading a double life. So it's entirely possible. It just is. And I just don't know that person, and I can't predict what else is going to come out.
What's confusing is that there's so many allegations, more could come out. This is a lot of time that this man spent doing all this other stuff. The fact that people who were close to him didn't know the extent of it. So, I hear your explanation and that you don't know anything, but it's just really hard that there was no insight, considering how extensive a lot of these allegations are.
He became very good at being a predator. And he clearly preyed on these women in different positions.
And you.
And he became extremely proficient at lying to us, lying to his family, lying to
You're
his
a victim
community.
too.
the nature of his job allowed him to travel, and we just did not fully understand we just don't. There's just no way we could have seen any of this. It just, again, like, he lied for so long, led a double life. He was able to manipulate, was able to convince the most powerful people that have known him for even longer than me, that there was none of this was going on, that the rumors weren't true. And after a while, a lot of people just fell into complacency because the rumors never became true. And because he was,
because you all look the other way, Ruben.
On the impeachment trial, our dumb political brains think like, well, that would have spurred something to come out.
Always someone else's job.
To that point, what
are there other members that you have heard rumors about that you might now think about talking to or acting on?
I think most of the rumors are people that are now gone.
Everyone else is
now
clean.
If I hear rumors going forward, especially if it's anything of a legal nature, whether it's harassment or that, I'm just going to go to the right authority.
Yeah,
but
right.
If, going forward, if I hear of anything of that same nature in terms of flirtatiousness, I will have to bring it up.
Flirtatiousness.
What about the former?
No,
I'm not even asking for names. I'm just saying broadly. Does
to
no one come to mind?
No one right now.
Senator, you posted on X defending.
What specifically are you talking about in terms of rumors? I mean, you don't have to give me the names unless you want to say who these people.
Past rumors of past members being flirtatious, and acting inappropriate one way or the other.
Oh,
you posted on X, coming to Swalwell's defense, essentially downplaying all of the rumors. Do you regret doing that?
100%, I regret that.
Because you got caught.
That tweet?
Again, Eric knew exactly what he was doing. He manipulated me. He, started telling me about this, these, influencers that are doing this new type of attack, and I believed him. And he reminded me of how it was very similar to the things that happened to me in 2024.
Wow.
And honestly, that was triggering. It was triggering for my family. It was triggering for me. And I fell for it. And because I didn't, there was not enough specifics, I just fell. And when he asked me to defend him, I acted like a loyal friend, unlike how he acted towards me. And I did it. And I regret it. I regret it. I was absolutely wrong. I should have waited. I should have waited just and just wait to see what happened and just told them, hey, listen, I need to have more information. But I did it.
When this was first surfacing in terms of most recently, did you think that any of this was being pushed by any of Swalwell's Democratic opponents in the gubernatorial campaign? And then secondly, I know you feel betrayed and you're still processing all of this, but what do you say to people who feel, when they're listening to your explanation, you're playing victim here?
Yes.
I'm not a victim. The victim are...
You're acting like it. This whole conference was that.
Assaulted. To some degree, the victims are his family. And I think also his constituents that he lied to. I'm not a victim here. I
just spent 30 minutes
being targeted by a lot of right-wing operatives using this horrible situation. And while I'm not going to, call myself a victim, I'm also not going to let them lie about me, lie about my family. These lies are actually extending not just to me, by the way. And that's why we're doing this. And I will not let them do that. Not again, like they did for 2 years during the 2024 election.
Are there any other members that you believe should step down at this time?
No, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Okay.
Not off the top of my head.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Last
right.
call.
What about due process?
Let's not use last call.
Yeah, bad joke. Yeah.
I'm sorry, second.
Are you worried about due process? Are you worried about due process having not happened yet?
Look, to be clear, Eric made this decision to drop out himself. He could have taken the option of due process, going through an ethics committee, all that. What I worry about is, what do the victims get? Do they get closure? Do they get justice? Because they're not clearly going to get through the ethics committee now. He made the decision, and he's living with that he quit. He had the option of due process. He decided not to take it. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
All right. So he did that for 30 minutes. And I don't know about you, but looked like he was just squirming around, hands crossed at every opportunity. He's doing the eye block routine where, no, I had no idea, right? Hiding behind his closed eyes because he realizes that he knew a lot more than I think he's letting on. And suddenly he says, I'm not the victim. No, of course not. But the prior 30 minutes of this were him explaining how he's a victim, how he got duped by Bang Bang Swalwell, and Bang Bang duped everybody. And so you can't blame him for that, even though they're BFFs and have been for quite a long time. He chaired his presidential committee. Ron DeSantis calls it out appropriately. Said the Democrat Party was aware of this guy's behavior, but never said anything until the party was threatened with getting shut out of the governor's race. Because, of course, we had Chad Bianco and the other guy who Trump endorsed, Steve Hilton, who were at the top of the ticket. And Swalwell at the lead was splitting the other candidates. They all had like 12, 13%, whereas Bianco and Hilton had like 13, 14%. And so they were winning, and they could have booted all of the Democrats out. The Republicans could have won the jungle primary and then taken the governorship. So they had to eliminate Swalwell so that all of this now could consolidate around Steyer. And this actually makes it better for the Democrats in California. And this is why, in part, they had to take him out. And again, I don't think that negates or takes away from the fact that these allegations are probably true. But the Democrats know how to play. And if you threaten their power, man, somebody's got to go. And I wonder if they had a conversation with him like, Swalwell, we need you to drop out. We'll make you whatever. We'll support your candidacy for senator in, 10 years or whatever. You have to leave. He said, I'm not leaving. I'm winning. And he said, all right, well, now it's time for us to unleash the hounds. And they certainly did that. So Ron DeSantis calls it out. Now the other Democrats came out. Fox News was out there talking to them. And they said, well, I can't believe this. I have no idea. Here's Pocahontas explaining.
People who are in positions of power and authority over others need to be held accountable when they take advantage of that position. And frankly, I'm glad that he'll be gone.
You are?
Yeah.
It was a good decision. Why is that? You don't have to be a rocket science to figure that out. It's terrible what has been alleged.
We just took a giant step backwards. I felt maybe wrongly that we were evolving.
No, your party knew about it for a long time. He was put on some of the most important and powerful committees. Even Ruben Gallego, his best friend, said everyone in DC knows about it. There were rumors swirling and bandied about for years, and now you're running away. So Luna was out. She said things are going to get much worse for this dude. Said, based on a forensic report that I've seen, Eric Swalwell could be facing jail soon. And of course, we heard from the woman in the prior segment who said that she was drugged and arred in a hotel room. So that will add to that. He did the right thing by resigning, but his troubles aren't over yet. Here's Luna.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is on the Oversight Committee, and she joins us now. All right, Congressman, what was Swalwell like in Congress? Did he have a rep?
Yeah, he did have a reputation. And as you know, Jesse, I was actually the member of Congress that wrote the expulsion resolution for him. And I was ready to call it up and did tell him that if he did not resign by tomorrow, that it would be filed. And we did have the votes to expel him from Congress. So what I will say is that many people on the Hill knew about this. Many reporters have come forward, even in talking to me, saying that they had heard stories about this. But I do think that he has serious criminal problems on his hand. And I do think that he might end up in jail, Jesse. And if I could just share with you for a moment. Not only did I receive forensic reporting showing that, that infamous video of him in the hotel room was indeed him. It was not AI generated. But I'm also being told that, more stuff is going to be dropping in the next 24 hours. And then also potentially the individual that recorded that video in that hotel room, Jesse, was a female and she was underage.
Oh, damn, son. Eesh, he's in big trouble. So he's also exploiting minors, and he's hanging out and apparently drinking and having intercourse and making out with hookers while there's kids in the room, says Anna Paulina Luna. So this dude is cooked. Gallego is cooked. You could see it in his eyes. He knows he's cooked. He wanted to be the president. And Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want to talk about it at all. They were asking him questions about this today outside of Congress. Here's what it sounded like.
Did you push Swalwell to resign? Did you push Swalwell to resign?
Member conversations that I've had will remain private.
Why did you call for him publicly to resign, given these allegations?
He's made the right decision.
And what about Trifolis McCormick? Should she resign?
Thank you, everyone.
So he doesn't want to talk too much about it. So Swalwell is out. We saw that today in the House of Representatives, they submitted their resignations, both Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez from Texas, now gone.
The House will be in order. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. Enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It has been my privilege to serve the residents of Texas's 23rd Congressional District. Signed sincerely, Tony Gonzalez, Member of Congress.
The chair lays before
Tony's
the House
out.
a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. I am aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong. But it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress effective at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on April 14, 2026. I will work with my staff in the coming days to ensure they are able, in my absence, to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional District. Signed sincerely, Eric Swalwell.
And that time...
Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House that in light of the resignation of the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, the whole number of the House is 431.
Bye-bye, bang, bang, Swalwell. And Tony Gonzalez also gone. So Luna said, we have successfully drained part of the swamp this week with the resignation of two very corrupt members of Congress. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you, Anna Paulina Luna. And our friend Maze Moore dug up this clip of your favorite president from 2023 when he had some choice words for Swalwell, and Trump was ahead of the game as usual. He knew exactly who Swalwell was, and here's what he had to say.
Little respected, lightweight representative.
Let's boost the volume on this clip so that we can hear the president in full order. Here's what he said.
Little respected, lightweight representative Eric Swalwell was just kicked off the Intelligence Committee for reasons of integrity and lack of intelligence, and for having the poor judgment of dating and falling desperately in love with a Chinese spy. Fang Fang, this idiot of a congressman, is now calling for publicity purposes only for some great American patriots, including me, to be banned from the United States Capitol building. Fortunately, people understand that Swalwell is a lowlife not respected by anybody. True. And merely used for entertainment reasons by the fake news media to continue their assault on President Donald J. Trump and their assault on America. People like this are not serious people. They shouldn't be taken seriously. Little respect.
And that idiot of a congressman is now gone. And so just outstanding. Thank you, Mr. President. Ahead of the curve, as usual. He knew exactly who Swalwell was. He wasn't like Ruben Gallego who said, I had no idea. I was duped. And of course, he nails it as per usual. And now Swalwell is bye-bye. But Ruben, you could see, is a 5-alarm fire right now. He's having a meltdown outside of his office today, trying to talk his way out of this. I had no idea. I was duped. Don't get mad at me. I was not in the room, definitely. I wouldn't even know whose building it was, or how many people were in there, or why there was a minor in there, or how close it was to the local liquor store, which is right next to this place, which is my favorite. He has no idea at all. And so, Ruben, trying desperately to escape any connection or culpability by proxy with Swalwell. But time will tell, and I think a lot more is going to be coming out on this one. So we'll keep our eye on it. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, we got one more update to get to today, and it's a good one. Courtesy of the DC Court of Appeals. Here we go. Judge Boasberg slapped down by the Washington, D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. This is the same judge, if you recall, who ordered Trump to turn the airplane full of illegal aliens around, bring them back into the country when they were on their way down to CCOT to serve time in El Salvador. And then when the president didn't turn them around because they don't have to follow orders from a federal district judge in Washington, D.C., there are other extenuating circumstances that are under the president's executive branch over which the judiciary has no control at all. He said that you violated his order and that you should be held in contempt. And of course, the president took this all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court smacked it back down a long time ago and said, Jeb, you have to have due deference to the executive branch. You're not the president. You're not running things. And he then said, but I still have contempt powers. So I'm now going to open up a criminal investigation into the Trump administration, into the DOJ, Kristi Noem. He started issuing demands. I want to know who was at that meeting and what you said, and acting as though he's a prosecutor, basically launching his own investigation into the administration, even though the Supreme Court said it's not his purview and his order did not cover the conduct which he said it did. So now we've got an appeal that finally got handed down. We're going to take a closer look at it. You can see here coming out of the DC Court of Appeals, and it's a big one. It's a 2-1 decision. We had 2 Trump-appointed judges versus 1 Biden-appointed judge, I believe, Judge Childs, in a big, whiny, dissenting opinion that is not worth our time. But the majority decision says, Boasberg, you got smacked down. And that is being confirmed here by Senator Eric Schmitt. He said in a very interesting quote, Boasberg, the pursuit of this improper investigation is a clear abuse of discretion. Weird. So he abused his office almost and did it with glee. And what does that mean? According to Eric Schmitt in the Senate, it's clear. It's time to impeach the rogue Judge Boasberg. Thank you, Senator. We agree. The walls are closing in on his crusade to jail Trump officials, holding them in contempt for deporting literal Venezuelan terrorists. So Eric Schmitt gave us a little bit of a breakdown on this in case you forgot where this came from. He said, to review, last year, Judge Boasberg forced himself onto the turn the planes around case. Boasberg is in the District of Columbia, the federal court, and strangely ends up on all the Trump cases, randomly assigned, and it just lands in his inbox like, oh, that's weird. Okay, it's an emergency order. I guess I'll take this one. Just a few days after trying to foment a constitutional crisis at a judicial conference, he has spent the past year trying to jail prosecutors and cabinet secretaries. Remember the timeline. Back on March 11th, last year, Boasberg baselessly speculates that Trump is going to ignore court orders and precipitate a constitutional crisis. Goes to a conference, starts crying about it. The neutral, nonpartisan, non-biased judge starts whining and moaning about Trump. Then on March 15th, Boasberg abuses his powers as chief judge to reassign the Alien Enemies Act case back to him. Steps in, takes the case. Then March 15th, Boasberg takes over the case. He issues his infamous order to, quote, turn the planes around. They were filled with illegal alien terrorists, designated as alien enemies, and deported accordingly. And the Supreme Court then, after some time on April 7th, vacated his order. He wrote an order, said, turn the planes around. The planes did not get turned around. They were already gone. They were already in international waters. He did not have jurisdiction over them at all. So it went up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court slapped him back down and said, actually, Judge, you have to give due deference to the executive branch. Now, today, the D.C. Circuit issued an opinion, once again, in the appeal on Boasberg's attempt extra-jurisdictionally, he doesn't have any power over any of this, to hold officials in contempt. The court said that Boasberg's inquest was both wrong on the law and a violation of separation of powers. Weird. So why is he still a judge if he can't get it right? Let's break it down. We'll take a closer look at the decision, but he says, quite simply, the core holding is simple. Criminal contempt, Boasberg said, since you didn't follow my orders and turn the airplanes around in midair or pick them back up and bring them back, I'm going to find you, open up an investigation into contempt. Basically, you're violating my orders, and I'm going to find a basis to charge you with crimes. Says if you have a criminal contempt inquiry, it requires a court order that is clear and specific. You can't just say, well, I kind of hinted at something and now I'm going to arrest you for it. The D.C. Circuit held that his temporary restraining order was not. It wasn't clear at all. Why? Because the written order barred removing class members, but said nothing about transferring custody once the planes were already outside the boundaries of the United States. The lower court, Boasberg, then tried to transform an order about removal into an order about continued U.S. custody in El Salvador, saying, well, they're still in our custody because we have a deal with El Salvador to house these terrorist illegal aliens. And since we have that deal, they're still in our custody. And I'm a federal judge. I'm the president now, and I can now order them back. The Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, idiot. Criminal liability cannot rest on what a judge later says he meant. It's what you wrote in the order. Your order was crap, and now you want to change your order. You can't charge somebody with a crime for that. It's like writing a criminal law that doesn't apply. And then you're like, oops, actually what I meant is that. What you did there is a crime, and now I'm going to charge you with that. It has to rest on what the order actually said at the time. Now, Boasberg was mad that he didn't get his way. He wanted to halt the deportation of Tren de Aragua terrorists, literally. He got shut down. In our constitutional system of government, writes the Court of Appeals, criminal liability cannot turn on the unstated intentions or post hoc assertions of a district court judge. Saying the district court from Boasberg launched an intrusive criminal contempt investigation into whether the government acted willfully, saying we're going to investigate Trump for a crime when it transferred suspected Tren de Aragua members to Salvadorian custody. But the end of this investigation is a legal dead end. The TRO, the temporary restraining order that Boasberg issued to turn the planes around, simply said nothing about transferring custody, nor did the district court prohibit the transfer of custody in oral statements. And so in our constitutional system of government, they're like lecturing Boasberg now, who lectures all of us. Well, Trump is violating our constitutional norms. This is a democracy, blah, blah, blah. No, that's you. That's your team. Criminal liability, they said, cannot turn on the unstated intentions or post hoc assertions of a district court judge. The pursuit of this improper investigation by Judge Jeb is a clear abuse of discretion, another abuse that entitles the government to a writ of mandamus so the Court of Appeals can say back to the lower level court, stop this. We are mandating you to stop this, your contempt investigation. So the district court told the government, they said, that they would issue a written order. So you don't have to race to write it down. Okay, they're having these oral arguments. It's an emergency. All the ACLU and the illegal alien representing lawyers who come crashing into the courtrooms to prevent them from being deported. They came in, they said, they're loading up airplanes. They're going to kick them out. And so there was an emergency hearing. They brought in all of the people. The DOJ's there on behalf of Homeland Security and ICE. They've got the ACLU and the other gangbang lawyers out there all coming in. The judge told them at this emergency hearing, I'll get you an order out. I'll write it down. Planes were taken off. The written order then superseded the oral remarks. And that written order did not bar what Jeb Boasberg claimed it barred. This is bigger than one case, by the way. If this contempt theory had survived, any politically charged district judge could issue a rushed, muddy order and then later reinterpret it and then threaten executive officials with prosecution. The D.C. Court of Appeals put a needed stop to that. Now, today's ruling is a win for due process, writes Schmidt, for separation of powers and for the proposition that judges must follow the law too. No vague orders, no post hoc after the fact rewrite, no judicial fishing expedition, and no contempt. And so what this means is it's time to move forward with impeachment of Jeb and many other judges, by the way, who are all abusing their office to launch political attacks against the president and his administration. And here is what the full decision looks like. We'll hit the highlights of this thing. It's 122 pages, as you can see on your screen. About 80 of those are a whiny dissent from Judge Childs. And the two judges, it's a 2-1 decision. You can see Rao and Walker. I believe it's Trump, Biden. And here's how the decision went down. The circuit judge, Rao, he says, look, more than a year ago, the President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act against the members of Tren de Aragua. They're a Venezuelan criminal gang and foreign terrorist organization. He ordered that they be removed. In a series of fast-moving events on March 15th last year, 25, the government placed a group of the gang members, including the plaintiffs in this case, on planes going to El Salvador. After the planes took off and left the country, Boasberg ordered the government, don't remove them from the United States. They said, well, okay, we won't remove anyone else, but they're already gone. Supreme Court got the case, vacated Boasberg's order because it was premised on a legal error and the plaintiff's suit was brought in the wrong court. Nonetheless, then Boasberg threatened to hold government officials in criminal contempt. Supreme Court said, Judge, you're wrong. You can't order them to do this. He said, well, I issued a written order and Boasberg said, even if my order gets overturned, in other words, you still have to follow it. You can't just decide I'm going to win on appeal and then while the appeal is pending, bypass my written order. So he said, since you did that, now I'm going to open up criminal contempt proceedings unless you then complied with my illegal order. This is how insane it is. Supreme Court said it's illegal. He said, well, I'm going to investigate you unless you comply by taking the Tren de Aragua gangbangers back. So we issued a writ of mandamus. We vacated the court's first contempt order, but undeterred, Boasberg didn't care. He then started to proceed with criminal contempt for the decision to transfer the plaintiffs to the custody of El Salvador. So then changes his order to say, don't bring them back, but you can't deliver them from U.S. custody to El Salvador custody. So you're keeping basically constructive custody over the people who are being housed in El Salvador. So to cooperate, the government identified Kristi Noem as the person responsible for the transfer decision. Boasberg then previously said this was the only information that it required to make a referral for criminal prosecution. But then Boasberg came out and expanded his prosecution, his inquest. He ordered hearings. He called everybody in to get more information from government lawyers about exactly what happened. The government now, of course, petitions for a mandamus to once again stop the Judge Jeb. So the widening gyre of the district court's investigation again calls for an extraordinary remedy of mandamus. We have to halt this from happening. This is a judicial impairment of another branch in the performance of its constitutional duties. Jeb trying to muscle his way into the executive branch and take over the country, acting as though he's the president now. Now, the district court proposes to probe high-level executive branch deliberations. These proceedings are a clear abuse of his discretion. The court's order said nothing about transferring custody of the plaintiffs, the illegals, and therefore lacks the clarity to support any criminal contempt. And moreover, the government has already provided in the name of the responsible official, which is Kristi Noem, so any further investigation is unnecessary and therefore improper. And so in these circumstances, mandamus is appropriate to prevent Jeb from assuming an antagonistic jurisdiction that encroaches onto the autonomy of the executive branch. Incredible. So they say, we need to account for the remarkable procedural posture of what happened here. Let's recount what went down. March 14th, Trump invokes the AEA. Tren de Aragua, you're invasioners, and you have created a predatory incursion into our country. He said, that they're operating at the behest of Venezuela. Time for them to go. Early hours the next day, March 15th, Tren de Aragua members were in Texas, about to be transported on a fuera out of here. Counsel for 5 of the detainees learned about the removals. They raced over to Judge Jeb. They filed a habeas corpus claim by, ACLU or aligned lawyers. And then they said, don't remove them. The district court issued an ex parte order, didn't consult with the government, 9:40 a.m., barred the government from removing anybody for 14 days. Then at 5 p.m. the same day, he held an emergency hearing. Then he certified the entire class, so a class action of illegal Tren de Aragua aliens. Ordered the government, said, don't release them or don't transport them out of here. Judge adjourned the hearing at 6 p.m. to learn more and report back. The hearing was adjourned. 2 flights departed. When the hearing resumed, they said, sorry, Judge, flights are already gone. He said, well, you shall inform your clients that any plane containing these illegals, these folks, he calls them, that is going to take off or is in the air needs to come back to the United States. Those people need to be returned. Judge is furious. However that's accomplished, whether turning the plane around or not embarking anyone on the plane, those people covered by this plane, I leave to you. I don't care how you do it. This is something you need to do to make sure you comply with this immediately. Then he said, I'm going to issue a minute order memorializing the oral directive. So you don't have to race to write it down. Then he came out and issued a written order. In the written order, it said, don't remove people from the class. Several hours later, 2 planes departed. Before the TRO arrived in El Salvador, and then they transferred these people out. Now, after this court denied this government's request for an emergency stay, then the Supreme Court, they went up there, vacated Boasberg's decision. Said, sorry, Jeb, you can't do this because that their challenge and the removal could not be brought under the APA. This is a writ of habeas corpus claim, and you granted them rights that they don't have because habeas petitions must be brought in the district of confinement in Texas. They were being confined in Texas. They sued in DC so that they could forum shop and go get Judge Jeb to handle this. They're in the wrong district. Now, the Supreme Court then vacated his TRO. He didn't care. He still forged ahead with criminal contempt proceedings on the theory that the government violated the TRO. He changed the basis of the TRO, said you transferred custody. I ordered you not to do that. And then criminal contempt proceedings began. He said that I'm going to prosecute you essentially. The government then petitioned for a writ of mandamus, and we get the gist of it, but the court denied the petition for a rehearing and the writ of mandamus issued. So after we issued the writ, the district court then concluded that it should pursue criminal contempt in the aftermath. Ordered the government to suddenly submit declarations of everybody. Government complied, gave him declarations. Declarations confirmed the exact sequence of the events, and that the secretary got legal advice and made decisions. But he didn't care. We're now going to investigate so that we can make a criminal contempt referral. Now, rather than making a decision about the referral, once again, Judge Jeb moved the goalpost. And how bad can one judge be before you start impeachment proceedings? Grassley? In its latest order, the court proposed a further judicial investigation to determine whether this was willful. He sought live testimony to investigate exactly what happened, directed the appearances of multiple witnesses. Witnesses filed whistleblower complaints. Many others said there's misconduct and more. But the judge didn't need and couldn't do any of this. He had no jurisdiction. The case should never have been even brought in his courtroom. The government argued the district court had already had all the information that they needed, and the government, again, is now coming back up because of what this judge is doing. And so that's the background. They go through a lot of the legal components. A writ of mandamus is an extraordinary remedy. It's reserved for exceptional circumstances when there is a judicial usurpation of power, when there is a clear abuse of discretion. They just granted it here against Jeb, going through exactly how this works. And they explain it. Disregarding the reasons for the first writ of mandamus, he said, I don't care, Court of Appeals. The district court has now squarely launched a criminal investigation, previously finding the government willfully violated his rule, and now we have to come and slap him down. Mandamus is appropriate to stop unwarranted judicial intrusions into the executive branch, which is what's happening here. And for a mandamus to issue, the government needs to show there's nothing else that they can do to accomplish this, which is exactly what happened. The harms of further judicial investigation cannot be remedied later. We can't allow him to continue to do this, and then they can appeal it after the fact. We have to step in and stop him right now. Normally, we don't do this. Normally, judges don't misbehave this inappropriately. But when the executive, in this case Trump, alleges a judicial intrusion into its deliberations, the court has to look into this. In other circumstances, we've held the same. They walk us through a bunch of case law, and there are separation of powers interest as well. This is him encroaching onto the executive branch. We also, as we know, went and got Nicolas Maduro. The executive branch has made a lot of decisions about what Venezuela is under national security context, and that is their rule. That is their role. Those are their rights under the Constitution. Now, moreover, the district court continues to expand the scope of the investigation. The judge said, I certainly intend to find out what happened back on March 15th. He's going to probe Kristi Noem. He's going to conduct hearings that would allow their lawyers, the illegal alien lawyers, to come in and question executive branch officials. None of that is allowed. The participation of opposing counsel in the investigation is completely improper. Enabling interested plaintiffs to wield the sword of coercive investigation creates opportunities for private illegal alien gangbang-loving lawyers to come in here and act as prosecutors of the executive branch. It's insane. This judge enabled the whole thing. The whole thing is a scam. So the proposed hearings anticipate airing whistleblower grievances. These are improperly threatening the executive branch. This is a judicial intrusion into the autonomy of a co-equal department, and it cannot be remedied later in a criminal or in a appellate proceeding. And these are all amplified. There's going to be criminal contempt referrals and more. The government has already complied. They already identified Kristi Noem. They already explained through further declarations exactly what they did. The Supreme Court has admonished us before. We don't want confrontations between two branches of government. They should be avoided whenever proper. And Jeb Boasberg's improper and unnecessary investigation shifted its scope, shifted its justification, and Jeb intrudes upon the executive in a manner. The only way we can remedy this is through mandamus. That's what we're doing here. And we conclude, says the Court of Appeals, the government's right to termination of these proceedings is clear and indisputable. The TRO did not clearly and specifically bar the government from transferring anybody into Salvadoran custody. And so the TRO, since it's so confusing and not even specifying what is criminal, cannot support criminal contempt. And once again, Jeb Boasberg clearly abused his discretion by launching this inquest into the decision-making of senior executive branch officials. Abuse, abuse, abuse. And we have a bunch of useless senators who are sitting around not actually taking this seriously. And the TRO did not clearly identify or specifically prohibit any of this. In fact, the TRO said the government is enjoined from removing members of the class. They were already removed. They were already out of the country across U.S. boundaries once the order was issued. Then he said it's contempt because you had done that when I gave you the oral order not to remove them. Then he said, don't worry about the oral order because I'll give you a written order. So they walk us through the text of the order. We have covered this case for over a year now. They walk us through, what does remove mean? It doesn't mean custody. It means a change in territorial location. They were outside of the boundaries of the United States. And they walk us through the AEA. What does it mean under there? And so Boasberg is getting a real smackdown. They're even walking him through the dictionary. He doesn't care about the dictionary. He just cares about stopping Trump because he's a biased, partisan, maniac judge. So he then issued other orders. He said, return them. And they walk us through the statements. He gave oral statements, but they were of limited value because he said, don't listen to them. I will memorialize this so you don't even have to race to write it down. Now, when a judge makes oral statements that support two plausible interpretations, that is not sufficient for criminal contempt. And so since Jeb is such a dumb judge as well, his orders did not clearly or specifically prohibit the transfer of plaintiffs. And so therefore, you can't bring in contempt charges when his orders were ambiguous. Instead, he launched an intrusive criminal contempt investigation into the administration. But by the end of this investigation, it's a legal dead end. The TRO said simply nothing about transferring custody. And in our system of government, criminal liability cannot go based off of his unstated intentions. And this is an improper investigation. It's a clear abuse of discretion. It entitles the government to a writ of mandamus. And finally, we have satisfied all of the requirements in order to issue a writ of mandamus. This widening and unnecessary inquiry is being conducted on the erroneous premise that a TRO is sufficiently clear, is at least a clear abuse of discretion. Mandamus is appropriate to halt this. The Supreme Court has said we can do this. At this stage of the proceedings, he already got everything he needed, but it's not about getting what he needs. He wants to go attack the administration, and so mandamus is completely appropriate here. These are shifting and expanding proceedings. He has improper jurisdiction. He is antagonistic to the executive branch, and so he must be stopped. And now he is. Mandamus is appropriate to stop Jeb Boasberg's inquest. And so for the foregoing reasons, we issue the writ of mandamus. Boasberg is slapped down back to his lawful jurisdiction, and we terminate these criminal contempt proceedings so ordered by the Court of Appeals. Nice. And that is what we've been saying for over a year now. We have a concurring decision. We have a dissenting decision from the Biden appointed judge. But Boasberg now crushed. Is this going to stop him? Of course not. The only thing that is going to stop him, he doesn't care. The Supreme Court already slapped him down. He doesn't care. So the only thing that will stop him is actual accountability. This is why the Senate needs to start impeaching these judges. It is their constitutional duty. It is not a political attack. This is a court of appeals that has now slapped him down twice. The Supreme Court has slapped him down. He just keeps going. He's a maniac. So the court needs to be stopped. This judge needs to be removed through impeachment proceedings. Whether he can get ultimately removed by the Senate is a whole secondary story. Doesn't matter on that end. An impeachment in the House of Representatives is enough to get the ball rolling and to stain his legacy, which is really all they care about. And this, plus the Supreme Court, plus the other halts that have already come down, is enough to meet that standard. He is abusing his office. This is not being in office during a time of good behavior. This is horrific behavior. And the Supreme Court has acted and told him accordingly. Now it's time for Congress to act. And if they don't act, then it's them abdicating their constitutionally mandated responsibilities, and they should be held accountable for that. So this should be an issue in the midterms. This should be as big as the SAVE Act and other acts that are of critical national importance, because you cannot govern yourselves through a Democratic Republican process if the judges come in and undermine everything that you elect the people to do. You send in Trump to remove the criminal illegal aliens, and all of them, to be frank. And if a judge can step in and usurp that, then what the hell good is an election? We're all just being governed by Jeb Boasberg and Beryl Howell and Brian Murphy from Massachusetts. And that's not a free society. That's being governed by judges in black robes who live in the gutters under the dark of night, who are not accountable to anybody other than themselves and their liberal constituencies, which of course is the bar of U.S. of attorneys that exist in America. Unfortunately, we have to fix that too. So Todd Blanche, acting AG, he updated his X. He said today's decision by the D.C. Circuit should finally end Judge Boasberg's year-long campaign against the hardworking department attorneys doing their jobs, fighting illegal aliens. Will it? No. He's going to keep up the same action because there's no consequences for it. What are you going to do, impeach me? I'm appointed for life. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it, Chuck Grassley? What are you going to do about it, Josh Hawley? You guys going to vote for him to be impeached? You're going to demand and start taking some action on this? Or are you going to continue to allow America to be usurped by the judges in the black robes up on their benches without any accountability? Hopefully we see some action on it. We're going to stay on this one. The judges are part of the problem in this entire country. They operate with impunity. Now they got slapped down. And of course, the senators will just say, well, isn't that the system working? Isn't that good enough? No. This guy, one judge stole from us. It's April. This all happened back in March. 1 year of the administration stolen from us dealing with this nonsense. Until there's accountability, it's going to continue, and they continue to stop basically everything. We got TPS oral arguments coming up in the Supreme Court, all of it being usurped by the judges in the robes, and it's time for it to stop. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right. Gosh, I get so mad about it. All right, so friends, if you're just joining us, it has been a beautiful stream. Quick recap, then we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for sending in some love and for being here and subscribing and all the things. We had a great stream. We had Swalwell face multiple accusers today. These women saying they got Anthony Weiner pics delivered to their cell phone. Courtesy of Eric Swalwell, which is inappropriate when they're working for him. This woman came out and said that he drugged her and AR'd her. All of that was confirmed that from Anna Paulina Luna, that apparently there was a minor in the bedroom where this video was being recorded. We saw this one. That's Eric Swalwell. That's him groping a prostitute. She, of course, kissed him. He kissed her on the mouth. And we have questions about who this dude is over here. Grok says it's the same dude as Ruby Gallego. Of course, that's what Grok says. We are still in discovery mode on this, but there was a video released today where Ruben has his profile talking to Mike Johnson, screaming about the Epstein files. And there's that very interesting eyebrow protrusion from that side angle right there that looks very familiar with the dude who's in the hotel room. Apparently there was a minor in the hotel room. There's alcohol, exploitation of a child, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Lots of also criminal charges that could be bandied about. Ruben said, it's not me. I swear. I had no idea. Ruben said, I got lied to. I got duped, just like everybody else. Nancy got duped. Chuck Schumer got duped. Everybody on the Intelligence Committee and on the Judiciary Committee and on the Oversight Committee, we all got duped. I had no idea, and I'm a victim, just like everyone else. So, of course, we'll wait for this investigation to continue to percolate. Nancy Pelosi said she had no idea. A lot of interesting expense reports have come out. I think it would be very interesting to compare and contrast those with Ruben's expenses. Did he also go to Hap's Original during these various dates, times, and locations? And maybe other Congress people did. Maybe their campaigns also paid for some of the same extravagant activities that Ruben was on, like this one when he was on a cruise and a yacht with a bunch of women who apparently were being just, transported on and off the boat. He talked to Comey about compromise that the Russians are involved in at the same time that he was getting exploited probably by Fang Fang, with whom he made Bang Bang, a Chinese spy who is now in rehab in Beijing. MK Ultra to wipe those memories out of her brain so she can live again. Cash Patel said, give us a call if you happen to know anything about it. The billionaire where Swalwell was living, his mansion is now, drunk or something out on the street, talking about the Democrats have busted the trust, and now he's a libertarian Republican. All right, so that's going on. Ruben having to answer for this question with his shirt off on a beach. That did come up in the press conference. I think we skipped over that. He talked for about 30 minutes, looked very nervous to me, looked very evasive, hiding behind his eye blocks, arms crossed, and very unhappy to be answering these questions, as you could see. But people are asking, who is this guy? He wears Nike shoes. We saw that on a Facebook post. Nike is a brand that he wears, although the shoe is not the same. Maybe it matches. We'll have to wait and see. Ron DeSantis confirms everyone knew about this. Now Pocahontas and the guy from Vermont are all saying, no idea. We're happy he's gone. Luna said that there are forensic reports that show that there's a minor in the room. There were other people in the room. If it's not Gallego, it's someone else. So maybe he'll talk. Maybe the person recording the video will talk. And the compromise, I'm sure, exists out there in some way, shape, or form. Hakeem panicking, doesn't want to talk about it. Luna confirms the swamp has now been drained of 2 other predators and perverts who are now gone. Confirmation received on the floor of the House today. And Trump, as always, Nailed it. Let's listen to this one more time. It's so good.
Little respected lightweight Representative Eric Swalwell was just kicked off the Intelligence Committee for reasons of integrity and lack of intelligence.
It's true.
And for having the poor judgment of dating and falling desperately in love with a Chinese spy. Fang Fang, this idiot of a congressman is now calling for publicity purposes only for some great American patriots, including me, to be banned from the United States
Idiot
Capitol
of a congressman.
Fortunately, people understand that Swalwell is a lowlife not respected by anybody and merely used for entertainment reasons by the fake news media to continue their assault on President Donald J. Trump and their assault on America. People like this are not serious people.
No.
They shouldn't be taken seriously.
This idiot of a congressman, I mean, honestly, he can deliver it. And that was a good one from 2023. So, yeah, they're in trouble. Gallego's in trouble. Apparently minors may be involved in this too. They're all screaming about Epstein. Turns out it's right in their backyards. It's Eric Swalwell and Ruben Gallego, best friends, popping champagne bottles, dropping on cruises, and having like a little fun back and forth on X like they're public frat boys or something. Totally embarrassing for our governance. We should demand much better from our elected officials. And here's Eric Schmidt today explaining that Boasberg also needs to be impeached. We read through some of this decision, hit the highlights on it. And it's about time. Thank you, Court of Appeals, for slapping him down, stopping the ridiculous contempt proceedings that he engineered to go attack people who were just doing their jobs and following his orders. He didn't like it, so he tried to weaponize his office to take him out. And so it's been a great stream, my friends. Thank you for being here and for joining us. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. We go live 5 p.m. Eastern every weekday. We'd love to have you back here tomorrow. So hopefully we see you back. But now let's see what you have to say about it. I saw some great donos come in. Thank you for your support and for being here and for sending these in, supporting our efforts for this accountability and justice for all. Let's see who is here. Yeah, so I saw that one, Sean of Thyme. Hey, King of Biltong is here. Hey, what's going on, this old guy? Yeah, we got some great comments, friends. Thank you for sending these ones in today. Yeah, Rick D. Man, you're ahead of the class. And good to see you. Hey, here's Boasberg. Smack, smack, smack. Boasberg smackdown from the Court of Appeals. All those gavels coming in, and he had a bad day today. He doesn't care. What does he care? He's just going to sit there tomorrow and just do it again. So, friends, thank you for these. Hey, SD Gold Star Mom. Tiffany Henyard, the corrupt damn Dolton, Illinois mayor, is trying to run for county commissioner in Fulton County as a Republican. Please do a follow-up on her. Man, we love some America's most corrupt mayor talks. We were going to hit Fulton County today, but then all this Swalwell stuff broke. But yeah, we got a Fulton County update too, so we'll probably come back on that one tomorrow. Thank you for that, SD Gold Star Mom. Great to see you. Thanks for being a membo for 2 years plus. Hey, Voice of the People, what's up? Talking about some Iran stuff. Says, seems China is getting ballsy now. Perfect word for the Eric Swalwell segment. They just broke our blockade in the Strait. What? When you take their oil and drones now coming from Russia, they hurt. All right. Sounds interesting, Voice. Thank you for flagging that one for us. We'll have to see. Rick D. Someone had Grok compare old Ruben and the pick, says 100% match. You were ahead of the class, Rick. I think you sent that before we got there, but that's exactly right. We posted that, read through that one from C_3. We added our little vomit emoji just to make sure that nobody vomited. Hey, Jack Mack. Pelosi knows everything, okay? She knew something. Probably why she put him on all those committees. How could she not know? Ruben knew. He even admitted there were rumors all around D.C. Pelosi knows everything. She's the whisperer. She knew. Thank you, Jack Mack. Good to see you. That's 28 months as a membo. That's a lot of time. It's over 3 babies, pretty sure. Got to get a calculator. Thank you, Jack Mack. Good to see you again. Hopefully you're doing well. Michelle, my dad would end anyone that hurt me, and I'm almost 40. What's going to happen to Eric Swalwell? Well, yeah, vigilante justice is, still illegal. Although a lot of the times those people get acquitted, like those dads who go in and just take out the defendant after he gets a light sentence. He has to go through a jury trial. Jury's like, nope, that sounds reasonable. I don't think there's a crime here. And you're acquitted. But it sounds like he's going to get reported. And there'll be multiple criminal referrals. Luna said she's got a forensic report. And yeah, so it's going to be, I think, a long haul for this dude. And everyone, the reason why I think they're abandoning ship so quickly and so aggressively is because they know, like, we have to distance hard. If there was no there, he would stay in Congress. You don't just give up a congressional seat. But he did. Hey, G-Man, there is a distinct difference between the Swalwell Accusers press conference and that Epstein victim press conference a couple of months ago. Yeah, she's going to go make an actual police report. Where are their police reports? They've got names, dates, locations. They've got times. They've got a method. But those women just said, I'll talk about it on our podcast. We'll release a list on our podcast. Oh, really? Will you release the list on your podcast? Follow-up question. Actually, no. Why should we? Well, because you're the victim. And if you're the victim of a crime, you have to help identify the accusers. Or you are the accuser. You have to identify the perpetrators. They're not willing to do that. Jack Mack, I think the timing is suspect. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. It was advantageous for the Democratic Party to get rid of Swalwell for the California election and bad for Republicans. No doubt. Yeah, if Swalwell was not running for governor, I doubt a lot of this would come out. They would probably just, keep it under wraps. And it would be, damning for them if the Republicans ultimately won. So they needed to sideline him. And that's kind of the point. It's like all the Democrats who knew about it were quiet until it became useful. And I would wonder, like, if they talked to Swalwell, like, we need you to go. He says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm winning. They said, all right, we're going to take you out then. He said, with what? They said, with everything. You're now done. So he may have goofed pretty badly, but if he would have just stayed quiet and got out of the way, I think that you're probably right. There wouldn't have been a lot of effort to bring this stuff to the forefront. And so it's being exploited by his opponents. So the timing is certainly suspect, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. Hey, NTX Nancy, 11 months as a member. Rob, these folks have no honor. Pray for USA. We do. Yeah, we definitely do. And I think that's right. Politics is nasty and gross. And I think Nancy probably knew about it. Probably the reason he's on many of these committees. And then he was no longer useful. So they throw him away. Rick D. Bacchanalian is in reference to ancient Roman festivals honoring the god of wine, Bacchus, characterized by frenzied, secretive, and often drunken revelry. Caligula was famous for throwing them, which led to other types of parties. Gross. Yeah, gross. Thank you for that education, Rick D. Got to look that word up, that pronunciation up. This old guy, Swalwell is a disgusting pig. I have to reach into my core to control things I'd like to write about him. There is a special place in hell for people like him. Yeah, when you abuse innocent people, right? When you're in a position of power and you abuse anybody who abuses innocence is scum. But when you abuse people from a position of power, people look to you. You have this public persona of being this prosecutor and this man of moral standing and this family man who has a wife and daughter and kids, and you sell that. And then people come to you like, hey, I can help you with your career, and you exploit them. You're disgusting. And you're violating a relationship that should not be, should be inviolable. Like, you should be the best. Our Congress people should be the best of America. And you get Eric Swalwell and Ruben Gallego, who are like popping champagne bottles and going on yachts with a bunch of women, drunken women dancing. And you then sell it like this facade of who you are, and the media laps it up because you're a Democrat. Jack. Yeah, also, I hate to be the one to say this, but just because you're drunk doesn't mean you consent. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But women also lie and take advantage of such situations for a reason that may benefit them. He's always been creepy, though. Totally true. Yeah, totally true. This channel does not believe all women at all. Like, we've said that many times, especially in context where there's very little evidence to support the claim, like E. Jean Carroll. She's, comes out of the woodwork, a dressing room in Bergdorf's, and 30 years ago, doesn't even have a date, has no witnesses. The witnesses who she called are all very questionable, filled with bias. And so we believe in the presumption of innocence and due process and all the things. But Swalwell, I think there's a lot more there than like an E. Jean Carroll. Even the Epstein stuff. Like, I think that the Epstein stuff has many layers to it, but most of the women who've come out in those stories all feel like they're fishing for settlements. They're fishing for anti-Trump propaganda, and they're really, biased in their complaints. This one, we'll have to wait to see it develop, but Swalwell's going out. He's like abandoning ship, and all of his allies are all abandoning ship, which I think means there's a lot of there. But certainly, like women, I'll sleep with a congressman. How exciting. How fun is that? And then suddenly turn around. Oh, I got raped or something. It's like, all right. But as I mentioned in the show, when you have a pattern and you've got multiple different women saying that they had a drink with him and then they ended up in his hotel room and don't remember anything, I also think that there's a probability, at least probable cause, a reasonable belief that a crime has been committed, that he drugged them or somebody drugged them. And then he goes on these yachts. You can see it in his eyes. The guy's riddled with, alcohol or other drugs. And I can identify that as a former recovered alcoholic. Sharpie guy, it's all, thank you for the dono, Jack Mack. It's all projections, says Sharpie guy. They accuse us of what they are doing and are basically begging the question, what do you know about me? Right? That's right. Yeah, it's projection. Accuse the other side of what you're guilty of doing. And then if it ever comes out that you're doing the thing, you've already launched the accusation. So you're kind of diminishing the counter accusations. Hey, Rick D, there was also a young blonde girl in a black dress that you see momentarily around the corner in the mirror. Wow. Yeah, so I didn't spend a lot of time watching that video because it's so disgusting. But so you've got the prostitute, Ruben, or the Ruben guy, or Ruben looking guy who looks like Ruben. Then you've got Swalwell, the video recorder, and another blonde. Yikes. Yeah, so a lot of witnesses who can explain that. Thank you, Rick D. This old guy says Gallego has that deer in headlights on the interstate look about him. Yeah, and you can feel the uncomfortableness coming from him. And he's kind of blaming the media. He's under attack. He has to come out. It's almost like pounding the table, right? You got good facts, pound the facts. You got good law, pound the law. You don't have anything to say at all. You just come out and pound the table. I can't stand these lies about us. Well, do you want to address what's going on in the lie? Do you have an alibi or a different explanation? Or are you just mad that people are accusing you of this? Explain it. Don't just scream about how absurd it is and blame the right-wing conspiracy. It's Hillary Clinton's right-wing conspiracy. Jack Mack, I don't know who's more scummy, Swalwell or Gallego. These people have no shame. We can tell you're lying, dude. We know you're lying. Maybe he should have just said no comment, as this old guy said. Gallego would have been better off to just close his door and say, I've got no comment on any of this. King of Biltong is here. Premium Biltong from Biltong, USA. High protein, keto friendly, no additives, U.S. source beef, authentic South African flavor. Get some now at Biltong, USA. Use code Robert. You'll save 10% off, baby. Hey, Lenny Malley, do it for Lenny. Like, share, subscribe, share on all social media platforms. God bless you all. Please and thank you from Lenny Malley. Thank you, Lenny. Jay Marino, this is Joe Biden's Redux. The Dems knew all about Swalwell's history, but didn't give a rat's behind. They put him on the Intelligence Committee, even after Fang Fang. But when California ranked voting is about to bite them in the booty, they miraculously find Jesus? Democrat hypocrisy and corruption has no limit at all. User, Swalwell leaving the race hurts Republicans, FYI. I think that's true. Yeah, he was there to help split the vote. And now the vote is consolidating around Tom Steyer. Thank you, user. I think you're right. Doesn't mean it's not true, but I think the Democrats needed him out of the way for sure. Rick D. Yes. Ruben's dusting off the old Clinton vast right-wing conspiracy excuse. Man, you nailed that, Rick. Thank you for that one. Villa Plot. Can we hear from Judge Childs now, please? I want to read the dissent on the Boasberg case. Well, we didn't read that since it's the dissent, but the majority, I think, is where the money was. Cat Zap, Talarico, Piro dismiss all charges in the Proud Boy case. Thank you for being here. Cat Zap for 46 months. Sean of Thyme. There's a photo with Gallego in those exact Nikes. I tagged you on X with a post about it. Yeah, I think, though, that's AI. I think that is, or it's a Photoshop, which is why I didn't show it on the show. Doesn't look real to me. Thank you, Sean of Thyme, for the dono. Texan Knock. Hey, Boasberg had a widow's peak before moving to D.C., and now he's a super libtard. Will you be watching your head closely the longer you live there, Rob? Definitely. Hopefully we can get out of this place with a full head of hair. Hey, Tim Jake, 5 membos here. Be Still, Atlas Shrugged, Callie Dime, Richard House, and the Eclipsed Truth, all gifted membos, courtesy of Tim Jake. Tim Jake, thanks for bringing in 5 new membo friends. And Rick D. SCOTUS has denied the petition for injunction from Ronan. He will not be on the Ohio ballot. Interesting. Yeah, so that's the fake Republican who tried to run as, he's a Democrat, DNCer, tried to run as a Republican and has been denied by SCOTUS. Thank you, Rick D. We read that one earlier, I think last week. Rubos, Newscomb announces a special election to fill the seat of Swalwell. The date of the election, August 18th. No names yet, so we'll see who that is. Thank you, Rubos. Anthony Madison, thank you, Anthony. Great stream. Thank you for saying that. I thought it was a good one. Some good stories. Sandy, using the word gyre was making a point to Boasberg. They could have said spiral, but made him get a dictionary. I need one too. Labeling him antagonistic several times should justify barring him from further cases. Love this opinion. Yeah, I'd love it also if, the Senate did something about it. Thank you for that, Sandy, in the House. Chubby, suggestion for tomorrow's show. New law working through California legislation to effectively criminalize citizen journalism seems almost targeted at Nick Shirley. I saw Nick Shirley talked about that. Yeah, Nick Shirley actually posted about that and said they're coming after him. Hey, Michelle Parsons, what's going on? Robert, why are people in Congress going after Corey Mills too? What is he accused of doing? I think a lot of the same stuff. I think kind of using his position to stalk a love interest. Some gross stuff with women. I don't know if it's arisen to anything that's non-consensual, but just kind of harassment of a woman, I think is the allegation. Don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, it's not stuff that is becoming of a congressman. Jim tells you what's going on. Jim tells you just became a supporter. Thank you, Jim. Hopefully you're having good streams over there. To Sadaka, as much as I get to hear of your show, it sounded like a great one. I came in late. I am struggling with missing my beloved. I'm sorry to hear that, to Sadaka. Prayers up and over to you. Yeah, check out ericshouse.org if you're looking for a community to talk with people who've lost a loved one. So I've been trying to avoid the news. Thank you to Sadaka. So sorry for your loss. And it was a hard one. I know about a little bit about what you've shared with us. Thank you to Sadaka. And ericshouse.org is a great place to go where if you've lost somebody from suicide, overdose, or a tragic death, someone's taken young from us, it's a great place to find some support. Michelle Parson, thank you, Michelle. I don't want to hear one more Washington politician screaming about Epstein until they are willing to come clean about the Congressional slush fund paying off abuse claims. Yeah, no, we don't get to know any of that either. Who makes the claim? How much money's going into it? Is there any process that validates those things? Is any of it a part of the public record? No, of course not. Hey, Jay Marino. The Court of Appeals punted on the question of bringing criminal contempt charges based on the vacated order. So a judge can issue a blatantly unconstitutional order, which is vacated, but prosecute criminal contempt charges. How's that work? No, I don't think he can. That's the mandamus. So they got rid of all of his contempt proceedings, saying he actually can't do that. I guess what's the remedy though for Boasberg? He just got basically slapped down, but he's still a judge. There's no other consequences. Hey, NTX Nancy, Rob, you're the best, and I'm so happy for you and the family. DC is going to rock in 26. Are y'all going to the UFC fight at the White House? Take pics, LOL. So I just heard Trump the other day saying that there was going to be we're never going to get tickets into the event, but I heard Trump say that there was going to be a big public viewing area with a bunch of screens and stuff like that. So we definitely want to go check that out. And I'll talk to my beautiful wife about that. But she'll be down to go, no question. But we got to figure out what the process is, how to get tickets or whatever. Hey, just another Albertan says, I posted this over at Viva and Barnes. So listening to the vociferous condemnation of the once beloved Swalwell could insert the various firecracker pistol shot, bang, bang, Maxwell Silverhammer type. I'm left wondering why the Democrats drove him out. Did Pelosi or whoever is running things, can't still be Obama, whoever ran him is running the next one, need him out in order to engineer the next gov? Yeah, to consolidate behind somebody. He was splitting too much of the vote. So the So United communication arm of the DNC doesn't so publicly eat its own without rather mendacious consent from above. Was Swalwell so stupid as to defy their time-honored $1 million buyout with a book deal or something? Or did they think he was just so broke, why offer anything? Just destroy him. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Like maybe the threat was that it would come out, you know, if he became the winner, then it would come out for sure during the primary. So they had to take him out. Pamela Butt, what's up? Pamela Blute. Didn't Swalwell say the same things defending himself before he couldn't anymore? Yeah, no, he was saying repeatedly that he's innocent and he denies all allegations. And he had even Ruby was defending him like before the dam really broke. Michael Woodward. Hey, what's the status of William Scott Kelly, aka the crazy man? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we can take a look at that maybe tomorrow morning on the member stream. That's the same guy who got charged in the Don Lemon case, William Scott Kelly, for attacking Savannah Hernandez, which was another criminal act. He's on release for the church attack. Definitely should not be attacking anybody. Thank you, Michael Woodward. Yeah, we'll flag that for the morning. Amy Ann, as they say, birds of a feather flock together. And then when one gets caught, the other starts to scream, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. Thank you for the donos. We got some comments over on X. This one from Elliot. What's up, Elliot? With a poem. A single judge's sacred mission, unjustly stopped by doubtful writ. In others' eyes, an inquisition. All inadvised and illegit. The panel was itself divided, but in the end, a judge was chided. Today he reaps just as he sows. They wrote mandamus to the bows. Is this no more than dress rehearsal with DC striking en banc tilt? Just now much ink might yet be spilt for swift and thunderous reversal. Though they be served in fits and spurts, the bows may get his just deserts. From Elliot, the doc master and the word master, over there on X. And Boasberg, B. Torn says, is 6 reschedulings since Feb 17 normal? Trump of the United States asking about the E. Jean Carroll case. Thank you, B. Torn. John Cobb. Yeah, there's a Nike shoe photo, but it looks fake to me. That photo looks fake, which is why I haven't shared that one. But I did find the other photo over on the Facebook. The guy wears Nikes, doesn't look like they're the same Nikes, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have another pair somewhere. So, all right, beautiful friends, let's leave it there on the night. Thank you for joining us on this lovely stream. And of course, for subscribing and liking the video on your way out, if you made it all this way, we appreciate that. And we're coming back tomorrow. We'll get into it again. Membos in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and then we'll be back in the evening to get into it. And yeah, great poem. Thank you to Elliot for that. Good way to wrap things up. So we'll pause here before we close it out. Big thanks to our amazing mods and meme smiths. We got Muffin Rando, Donut Mind Me, John in the house, K Bean, Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Elliot, Just Rhonda, and all modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly. Tonight, I hope you have the most peaceful, pleasant, and beautiful rest you can possibly imagine. The sweetest dreams bouncing around your beautiful brain, and you accomplish all of the subconscious thinking that you need to. And then you wake up tomorrow restored and ready to go to come on and join us, because we'll be back here to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together